no archaeologist is going to disagree on the fact that skulls have essentially shrunken over the past like 5 to 10,000 years. No one's essentially going to debate you on that. As you can see here, the forager skull or the hunter-gatherer skull, it was wide, had straight teeth. There's Minkaye, pretty famous, and here's a Hazda boy. As you can see, this guy has straight teeth and a pretty wide jawline. We then go from Chad hunter-gatherer jawline with straight teeth and a wide palate with proper wisdom teeth eruption to essentially in the Western world chronic issues of malocclusion. So what went wrong? There's multiple factors. To understand the history of, jaw and palate shrinkage, you have to basically understand what's being measured here. These fancy words basically just means jaw size, okay? And skull formation, right? Yeah, that's what PCO1 means. PCO2 is a pretty much just location. For the sake of this video, we're going to be focusing on PCO1 only because PCO2 it's not irrelevant, but it's kind of unnecessary. So obviously, this kind of confirms the suspicion, right? Like, you have, your hunter-gatherers, right? They had the biggest jawlines. And then, slowly, as we started transitioning into farming, like semi-sedentary hunter-gatherers, that was like the first farming stage. And then you had, the transition farmers who did a little bit of both. And then especially, you see a lot of this in Europe. You then see, the jaw size start to really shrink and some malocclusion starts happening in this area. I need to also clarify that this is way before the Industrial Revolution. So, jaw shrinkage has been slowly happening over thousands of years. But the thing is I'm going to go over this next, it didn't really cause too many issues because the adaptations were slow. Because that's how evolution works, right? Further effects of malocclusion are demonstrated in this article where they basically just summarize the fact that, there's just like even over 100 years, right? Because the Industrial Revolution has lasted multiple centuries at this point. I mean, realistically, like 2 centuries. However, even in the last 100 years, right, there was even malocclusion issues have gone up as we have just industrialized more foods. However, it's also worth noting that it might be reversing, but it's hard to say. Okay, so if we know that it's pretty clear that the human jaw has been shrinking for thousands of years slowly, how did this happen? And the two debates really boil down to genetics or environment. And the reality is it's like, especially in the modern age, it's like 75% environment and 25% genetics. And I'm going to explain why.
Humans and our ancestors. Many think that for most of human history, dietary shifts, like the introduction of meat and the advent of cooking, were gradual, and that changes in tooth and jaw size basically kept pace with one another. But with the more recent revolutions in agricultural and culinary habits, that relationship changed. As the theory goes, over a relatively short period, some human populations saw a decrease in jawbone size, while teeth stayed roughly the same size, meaning they're left vying for limited space. When they do grow in, they may displace others and get jostled into some eccentric positions. And then wisdom teeth, which are usually the last to make their debut, seem to only complicate things further. In many cases, they have little or no space to emerge. This can lead to impacted wisdom teeth, which may cause discomfort and infections if not surgically removed. So, larger jaws appear to be associated with greater chewing demands, and many scientists think that as people's diets have become less chewy, their jaws have gotten smaller, and that this has led to dental crowding, resulting in dental crookedness and impacted wisdom teeth. This hypothesis has been supported by some preliminary experimental data. In a 1983 study, researchers raised 43 squirrel monkeys on diets of either naturally tough or artificially soft food. Those fed softer food had more crowded premolars, rotated or displaced teeth, and narrower dental arches. And a 2004 study similarly observed that hyraxes raised on cooked foods experienced roughly 10% less growth in facial areas involved in chewing compared to those given raw and dried foods. In other words, the issue at large seems to be environmental or one of lifestyle instead of a genetic one, though heritable factors may be at play in some instances.
Do you need any more proof than the TED Ed video? Okay, it basically just proved what I'm trying to say, okay? However, the only thing that the TED Ed video is missing is the distinction between industrialization and like everything else. And that needs clarification. There's a lot of fancy science language that is highlighted in blue, but what is highlighted in blue essentially is saying that there were some malocclusion issues in farmers due to farmers already having a softer diet. But the thing is the reality is most of the malocclusion and wisdom teeth issues we see today is in the industrial diet. The thing is the TED Ed video kind of like emphasized or didn't really describe, like the TED Ed video mentioned that like, oh, we slowly got more and more crowded and our jaws got smaller and smaller over time, slowly, which, yes, they're right. But then they don't mention the drastic change that the Industrial Revolution had on malocclusion issues, on mouth breathing, on wisdom teeth, impaction rates. And, the result is that's how we have a multi-trillion-dollar orthodontic industry in the Western world today. The reason malocclusion is present in humanity is due to the fact that humans technologically advanced and we started eating softer foods over time. Like we started to learn how to cook, right? And then we started to learn how to farm by eating cheese, and we started making softer foods over time. However, the changes that were present in pre-industrial times were slow enough to where humanity was able to evolve with relatively few issues. Obviously, some impacted wisdom teeth was still there, and severe cases of malocclusion were present. I'm not counting that out. But most of the really bad malocclusion cases and the frequency of malocclusion happened due to industrialization, okay? Because we're eating super, super soft foods, okay? Like applesauce, go-go squeeze, okay? and like all these preservatives that just everything is soft and it's mush basically, okay? And then that's how you have chronic malocclusion issues. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. I still haven't explained the actual mechanical processes that result in this, and I'm going to go over that next. But the nuance is you can't expect to just suddenly gain a wider palate and jaw by just chewing hard foods when you're 30. All right, it has to be done when you're a kid, and there's a lot of other things involved. And the mechanics are actually kind of complicated, so I'm going to go over that in the next video. But thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe. And leave any criticism in the comments. I will review it, and I will try to help you the best I can. Thank you so much.